morning, guys. It's 5 a.m. over here. Actually, it's like 2 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, but fuck it. Had a hard time falling asleep a little bit, adjusting to the time zone, and these sheets for some reason got really hot, so my legs kept sticking together, and when my legs stick together, there's no way I can sleep. That's why I like wearing pajama pants, and I forgot to bring them. I knew I forgot something, and usually like having pajamas makes me feel comfy in hotel rooms, and usually that's what I usually bring them because it helps me sleep better, but I completely forgot. But fuck it, we got shit to do, so I'm all packed up, ready to go. Found a really cool gym out here. A lot of people recommended it. Old School Iron out here in Cleveland. So I'm gonna do that, and then we're gonna go check out that public storage space. All right, so we're in the city where the self-storage is at now, and one of the things we're trying to pay attention to is, you know how I was telling you guys, the units are pretty much like fully occupied. So where we can get equity is by building more units and then renting those out, but we want to make sure those are occupied as well. So we're almost kind of conducting like an eyeball, like vacancy slash feasibility, like potential on our own. So if within a 3-mile radius, because is that what you're saying, like is generally people get self-storage at like a 3-mile radius?
Yeah, whatever's close to home, convenient.
Yeah, so like we're looking within a 3-mile radius. If it seems pretty dense, then cool, that passes the first like eyeball test. Then we're gonna get an actual feasibility report ran to show if the population, the traffic warrants the amount of building that we want to do, to make sure that we can build enough units to still stay occupied at the rate that we want, which will help us then cash flow, which then helps us get our property reappraised. And so far it's looking pretty good. So there's like a full-on YMCA here. There's like just rows of actual houses. Like it feels like a community. I've seen restaurants, body shops, because I was getting kind of nervous because on the way here it would be like a mile and then a house, and then another mile and another house, and I'm like, okay, at this rate there's no way we can build like another 100 or 200 units. Like there's, if it's occupied, like that's it, you know. We might just have to be like, you know what, call it quits on this investment. But it's looking pretty good where there's like actually rows and rows
in 1 mile
of
turn
houses.
left onto East State Street.
And there's a Burger King. That's always a good sign. Some national chains.
Yeah, but we can't buy here unless there's a Taco Bell. We know Bart likes Taco Bell.
That's true. So we gotta stay on the lookout for a Taco Bell, okay? If we see one, then that's a good sign. This is also a good sign. I'm seeing a lot of like fraternity houses. So this might even be like Greek Street. So that tells me there's definitely a college nearby. So if there's college, there's gonna have at least like, you know, 18 to 21 year olds, pretty dense, which also means there's gonna be a lot of thriving businesses. Yeah, you see kids walking on the street, probably going to school. So good sign so far. There's a guy over here. He looks like a college student. So it's looking pretty good. I was really scared because just looking at numbers, you know, without looking at faces and stuff. This is a school right here. Oh, it's a beautiful school.
Yeah.
Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, Mount Union. Very cool. Yeah, because just looking at reports, you know, you'll see like population like 30,000 or whatever, and like, I don't know, it seems like a small number compared to what I'm used to, because I'm coming from a big city where I'm seeing hundreds of thousands. But kind of seeing like, putting like the faces to the numbers, and seeing like more and more places like Walgreens and whatnot. It's looking pretty good. What do we have there?
Right.
A Taco Bell. See that?
Yep, we're sold.
That's a sign.
Yep.
If there's another one,
1.8 miles
then that
turn
means
left.
it's really it.
Yep. 2 Taco Bells. Yeah.
Then you're golden.
Yep.
So we just got to our storage place. We're a little bit early. We're supposed to meet them at 10. It's 9:30. This is it right here. It looks just like the pictures I showed you guys, except there's an extra sign that says 5-star store it. So that's interesting. That's something we're gonna have to talk to the seller about. but since we are early, we're gonna check out some of the competition in the area. What was one of them called? Mini self-storage?
Yeah, there's something like that.
So one's called mini self-storage. There's two other ones that's a chain, and we'll see like how they look like, the condition it's in, how many units they have, how big are each, you know, is it like 10 by 10s or 6 by 6 or 4 by 6? Like what are the units that they use, and then we can kind of compare and see like what we need to do to ours to beat the competition. So I'm at our first competitor, Arboth Mini Storage, and one thing I can say that they already have on us is that it's fenced. So that's like extra security. You're gonna have less people potentially, I don't know what the crime rate is here, we'll probably look into that, but less people potentially breaking into public storage. The thing that we have on them is, this is pretty ugly looking. It's just, yeah, it looks almost like a jail, and all the units are actually really close, so I wouldn't be surprised if these guys are only like 5 by 5 or 6 by 6s all the way down, versus the majority of our units are kind of oversized. Like usually you'll see like 10 by 10s, but a lot of the units over there are 10 by 12s, so that might be a plus. That might be one of the reasons why it's almost fully occupied, where these units might be too small. But we're actually just going to go in and talk to them and see if we can get some information. All right, so we went down the street, found another competitor. This one's called Inca Aztec Self-Storage. This one's actually a chain, so they're probably doing things pretty legit. And I would say one thing in our favor now is these guys also isn't fenced, so it might not be a big issue, because in this area there's two of these guys. So if there's two of them and one of them's not fenced, and you know, usually chains, they like to rinse and repeat, it's probably not too big of an issue. This one is also much smaller than ours. There's only like one long unit and then one big one over there that might be like RV storage. So these guys might be fully occupied too. We wanted to go into the office and talk to someone, but I think they're renovating. And at the last one, we wanted to talk to someone in the office, and they didn't come in until 11. Not really an issue or anything, but they're renovating. And the way that we want to do ours is you want it to be like fully like self-automated, where you just have a website, you go on the website, you pay, you book it, we give you a lockbox code, you go straight to your unit, you don't even have to talk to anyone. That way you can operate 24 hours a day. If we need storage at 2 a.m., you can do it all yourself, trying to really make it seamless. So we're just seeing how people operate around here to see if we can provide a better service, because ultimately when you're in business, that's the goal. All right, at another competitor. This one I like. It looks clean, very self-explanatory, like it's digestible. It's just unit, 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 unit. And I like how all the buildings are like the same color. It's very visually aesthetic, and also I think location wise it's really good because it's surrounded by neighborhoods. So if you live around here and you need to store something, you don't have to drive miles and miles away. You can come literally like down the street and there's a place that you can store your stuff at. And I believe this place is operating the way that we moved on to, because I don't see an office, which means you probably just go online or you call someone and then they give you the code and you go in. So this way, this place is already operating the way that we want to. And I also like that they have cameras, which is good. Gives you like a extra assurance that there's cameras on that side too. So seems like there's only one self-storage place that is fenced. So that might not even be something that the customers are looking for. So I don't think that's something that we have to worry about. Like if we buy it, you know, that was one thing that we're considering, is maybe we should fence it or whatever to give a competitive advantage, but it doesn't seem like that's a big issue. So now we just have to go to the other one and do a deep dive.
And we're pretty close to town too, if you look. That's the tiny one right there.
Yeah.
So we're pretty close to like where a bunch of folks are.
Oh, okay.
There.
So everyone else is a little bit further away.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. And then this one's kind of out there. This one's kind of close to the next town over, but this is kind of the biggest city around here.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Back at ours, Ours is for sure by far bigger, because look at how many units there are, and each one of them has quite a few. This is the motel that I was showing you guys on the diagram that we would convert into more units. So we would make it like a drive-up one, where like each one of those would just be like its own bay door, color matched to that. They did say that it's gutted in the sales report. However, I don't know if that actually is the case. Like I drove by an office earlier and that looks like it was fully intact. Yeah, it's not gutted. You could see that the drywall is still there and the carpet is still there. So it's still very much a motel, and that's one of the reasons why you want to like show up to see if what's in real life matches what's on paper. That's like number one. Cool. The agent is here and the seller's here, so I'm gonna go meet up with them. So like the biggest difference between this self-storage and all the other competitors that we're looking at is the built-in equity that I was talking about. Whereas all of them, you can see that all of the units have maxed out, right? Like you can't build any more even if you have more customers, and that's what makes this deal so attractive. Because aside from these units right here, we have all this space. We have about 4 acres worth of space. So when our feasibility reports come back, and like let's say they say we could double our units or triple our units or quadruple our units, then we know we can do it because we have the space to actually build and have everything being under like the same roof or same land, so to speak. So that's like the main thing, where that's what I was calling this, is almost like a commercial burr. If you guys follow any like Thatch, shout outs to Thatch, or like people that talk about like residential real estate, where you know like you buy small property on a big piece of land, then you can either expand that small property from a 2-bedroom to like a 4-bedroom, or you could build a duplex, and then now that entire property goes up in value. That's essentially what we're doing here. We're burying pretty much this storage unit. Like this whole unit is like 6 acres, which is pretty big, but it's only being occupied by this. That motel is shut down, so we'll convert those, and then we're just going to run reports to see like, okay, if we do a phase 1 approach where we only have like add another 50 units, or if we do a phase 2 approach, 100 units, like through the cash flow, how much money can we generate, and then can we 2x the value of the entire property in like a year or 2 or 3 years. And that's what makes this deal like so juicy. So they're opening up the units for us to look at. This is what like a smaller unit would look like. This looks like it could be like maybe a 4x6, and it's drive up. So you know, some storage you got to go through a building, which makes it kind of inconvenient, where like you have to like park your car, unload your car, walk to the center of it. So all of these doors are facing outwards, which makes it very convenient. You just roll up and put your stuff in it. So what's dope about walking the property is I found out that it's actually fenced on this side, and it goes all the way down that way. So from the street we couldn't really tell, but now that we know that, now if we were to get an estimate on how much to fence off the entire property, we only have to technically fence the front. So to me that's a no-brainer, because it adds an extra layer of security, and there's only one other self-storage in this entire city that's fully fenced off. We've seen all the other ones, none of them have that, so that gives us a competitive advantage, which is pretty cool. So we just did a full walkthrough on the property. Definitely a lot of potential here, like as in the built-in equity I was mentioning earlier. So it does seem like there's a shortage of RV and boat parking space in this area, so that's easily just throw gravel on and we can convert that, you know, without even having to spend too much money building like new buildings. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing to consider is we could even parcel off the land, sell that if we don't use up all the space. We could even do that simultaneously, like pretty much list that we're going to sell it, then also rent it, and if it sells, then we just give the RVs back to the renters. With this motel back here, there's a couple of other options that we thought of, which is we could convert it into multifamily units, right? They all got like pretty much rooms and bathrooms all the way through, There's 9 units there, or we can convert it to office space. So we can make it like a small business park, make it nice, paint dividers so people's clients can pull up, and then modernize the paint a little bit, and then they could have their sign out front on the billboard. The billboard's technically part of our property, so we can market people's businesses up there. So there's actually a ton of options, which is really cool. There's a whole backside to this building. So now the goal is we get all these different scenarios, we list them out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then we get a cost estimate for construction for all of them, getting a feasibility report, like how feasible is it to fill up all 9 like multifamily units, for example. And we run all those numbers, and then we pick the one that is going to be the easiest and highest chance of success to execute. So this is a very fruitful trip. Literally came in yesterday, checked out the property, spent a good few hours here, and now gonna fly back to Vegas to be with Cuny Mama and Cuny Taika.